Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and today we've got a very special video for you all. I decided, so in the past I did top 5 videos, so I did top 5 best DPS, top 5 tank, top 5 support. What I decided to do is I'm going to do a top 10 best overall unit in the game, and I'm going to tell you all this is like an extremely hard list to make, very subjective. What I say, just because I say it doesn't mean it's actually true, right? This is my opinion and my experiences just with using these characters in the game. Now, I think some things that are going to influence my decisions are obviously characters I've used more and I have more experience with. I'm probably going to rate higher. So there could be a character maybe I rate a little bit lower that is actually really good, but I maybe just don't use them as enough and I don't feel that power as much. But I think, once again, I've said this before, DFFOO does a very good job of making all characters pretty dang good in their own ways. And I think a lot of characters can look really good if you set them up right, depending. So I think, a tier list for this type of game is always very difficult to do, which is why I don't do them very often. Because they're constantly reworking characters, right? Like this top 10 that I'm going to do, like within 2 weeks, there'll probably be some unit that, like whatever the next unit that comes out will probably make it into the top 10. And that's the nature of gacha games, right? The new thing should be stronger than the last thing. Otherwise, they're not doing their job well, right? So once again, I won't do this very often, but like I said, maybe quarterly, every few months, I'll for sure do those top 5s and maybe we'll add this one to the mix as well, right? So before I jump in and just start naming off characters and units, just to talk about how am I ranking these units, because now I'm looking at, no matter what the character's role is, I'm just looking overall, who do I think are the best units in DFFOO. And some of the things I prioritize very heavily are, the amount of things a character can do, the importance of those things that the character can do, how good are they at their role, and if they can fill multiple roles, I would say that's kind of a bonus. This isn't something where it's simply ranked on who does the best damage, who does the best this, the best that, but it's like, can I be the best at multiple roles, or how flexible do I make team building, right? Like some units, I think, make team building flexible, and I think some units are the key to making other units look their best. So if there are units that, like, they're like the key cog to a team build to make the team cohesive and work well, I'm going to rank them very high, right? So just if you're looking at this list and you're thinking, well, why does your number 1 character not do as much damage as number 10 or number 7 or whatever? It's because I'm not just ranking on damage. I'm ranking on the unit overall as a package, and it's how valuable that character is in the box and how often do I want to use that character, right? So without further ado, let's hop into it. Now you can see I've got more than 10 tabs open here. So I have to do kind of like honorable mentions and shoutouts. I know people will get angry if certain units aren't mentioned, so we'll just keep that in mind. So starting off, honorable mentions that did not quite make my top 10. I'll start with characters Oron and Rubicante, and we'll just lump into this any other tanks that maybe you don't see on my list. Just consider, like, there's a lot of tanks can be very equal in different ways, right? So I just have to shout out Oron and Rubicante, just two really, really nice tanks that come to mind out of ones that maybe weren't picked in my top 10. But these are just characters I want to show out. These are the types of characters, the reason why tanks are so good. They actually allow you to solo fights. They allow you to keep your team safe. They're great complementary, like, third units on their team, and once again, they can be very featured units as like solo units. So tanks are a very important role in this game, and they are a must-need role. And because Oron and Rubicante right now, I'd say, are two of the best tanks that did not make my top 10, so I just want to mention them. They're very good units, right? Then I got to talk about, like, kind of these support characters that didn't quite make my top 10 that are very good. And we've got Deuce and Lena here, both excellent, excellent units. I think the only thing keeping Lena off of the overall top 10 is she doesn't force charge. I think if she force charged, she probably would be there for sure. I could still see myself putting her onto there. Once again, it's very subjective, right? Like, all these units do such different things, different roles, whatever. But I mean, I just recently used Lena on a video and she just felt very good. And debuff evasion is a very strong thing that you can give your party. So I think Lena is very good, very powerful healing. She's very powerful with her BT, can actually put up a lot of damage and serve multiple roles. So, you know, as I talk about Lena, I'm kind of thinking, man, maybe I should have put on my top 10, but I've already got some really nasty, like really good supports on there. But Lena's definitely a top tier character that just didn't quite make my top 10. And Deuce, same thing. Very, very good. And Deuce does force charge. She has the same thing as Lena, where very powerful BT follow-up actually helps her to do a lot of really good damage. And then she's doing all the support stuff. So once again, you have multiple roles, serving roles that are much needed on a team. You know, both characters have fairly good FR conditions. They both can do good echoing, like all that stuff, right? So very good characters I need to mention there. Oh, and then Rosa. Yes, Rosa is also part of that trio. I didn't want to like click ahead too far, but yeah, Rosa is same thing. And Rosa especially, I think the only reason she didn't make my top 10 is just that she's been aging a little bit. And there's just like other insane supports that have gone above her. But you guys know, like, I absolutely adore Rosa. I'm one of the biggest Rosa promoters out there. And the fact that she didn't make my top 10 just shows you like how hard this list was. Because I did want to kind of have a variety of types of units on there that I all felt were like very, very top tier. But yeah, Rosa, and then the thing I love about her, like ridiculous FR conditions, super easy to meet. But Rosa and Lena, I feel like and Deuce, all three of these, like, I almost feel like I would just have to package them into like one slot, because I would never, like, I could probably justify having my top 10 list be all supports, to be honest. But I already did my top 5 support list, and I want to make sure my top 10, I am including a variety of units, but all three of these are just excellent, crazy characters. I wanted to throw Beatrix down. She would kind of fit into like that tank role, but she does a little bit more than your average tank. She, like, once you get her going, she has one of these BT effects that like you literally can't die. And I suppose in this like support thing, while I'm thinking about it, we'll throw characters like Rem and Iris into that. And the reason why I bring those up is they have BT effects that feel like Beatrix, where when their BT effects are up, you feel like you can't die. So that's really nice. But Beatrix, I just want to shout her out for kind of her like trap based role. Like her traps are actually very, very good. She works really well in off turn comps. I think Beatrix is just a really nice character that I like, but she is aging a little bit. Just once again, the top 10, there's some crazy units out there, you guys. So I can't get everybody in. That's kind of it. Now Reno is more, I just put him on my, once again, we're still in the honorable mentions. We haven't started the top 10 yet. But I have to just throw Reno out there because I really, really like him. And the reason why Reno doesn't make the top 10, he's a very niche, like specialized role that you absolutely 100% do not need, right? But dang it if it isn't like one of the coolest things in the game, which you guys have seen. I love running me a good off-turn defense comp. And this guy's just like the king for that because he delays the entire party. He's the only character in the game can do it. So I have to mention him because he's so cool and so unique. And I freaking adore him. Like, I think he's great. But because his role is so niche and specialized, and like, do you have to have a character that delays your team? No. And there's very specific situations you want to use that. So he definitely isn't top 10 in my mind. But I have to mention him as like a really cool character that I really like. So I just want to throw him out there. Aranea, she's kind of in that discussion because I would still say she is in the upper echelon of damage dealers. I think a lot of her damage is enhanced by another character you're going to see further up on the list. And so I think kind of for that reason, I didn't put Aranea up there alone because I think it's other characters that bring out her best. And I think those characters are ones that I favored more on the top 10. Aranea, though, with her delay is like very good. Like, delay is a really nice thing to have. Her debuffs are very good as well. So Aranea is still a nice character, and obviously launching a very good thing you can do. And her launch follow-ups make her very powerful. So I guess while I'm on the topic of Aranea, we could just throw Sid Reigns in here and mention him as well. He's another character that some players might be looking for on this list. Didn't quite make my top 10. Then we have Quina and Setzer, and this is going to round out my honorable mentions. Now, I just want to say, out of Quina and Setzer, I rank Setzer slightly higher. And I'll just say in general, the reason why I'm lumping them together is these are the cheese mechanic characters. So these are characters that are the only characters in the game that give you max HP damage no matter what your Brave is. And I'm going to be honest, Setzer, I really want him to be top 10. So if we could just say we're starting right now and Setzer's at number 11. Like, this is actually where I'm putting Setzer. And I think I could justify putting him in top 10 by pushing another character down. And the reason why Setzer and Quina are so valuable is because they allow you to get by really oppressive fights and really oppressive mechanics, and they open up team building because they can allow you to just dodge or ignore mechanics you don't want to deal with and freely run the teams you want. The reason why I rank Setzer higher than Quina, okay, so here's kind of the pros and cons of each, right? Quina makes it so while the BT effect is up, you always deal max HP damage no matter what. The downside of Quina, very, very short duration, only 5 turns, okay? But Quina has traps, another pro, really powerful traps, by the way. So that's another good pro to Quina. Now, if we look at Setzer, the big con with Setzer is that the HP damage isn't guaranteed. It's like a percentage chance. So some hits will hit it, some won't. The big plus of Setzer is that he has a higher burst duration. Now, the other negative with Setzer is it is random what you get, but at a bare minimum, you get 6 turns, which is still longer than Quina, but you could hit the jackpot and get 10, 11, or a 12-turn burst phase, which is pretty much going to last you forever. The other big plus of Setzer is he also has the Rainbow Brave damage, right? So while Quina is going to always allow you to do max HP damage, if you have a boss that has really oppressive, like, Brave damage reduction where you're only dealing 1 Brave, it doesn't matter if I'm dealing max HP damage. If I can't shave the enemies down, they can one-shot me. Whereas Setzer, he's going to help you with even more oppressive fights because he's going to help you deal the HP damage if you can't. And then if the enemy's trying to have really oppressive Brave damage reduction, well, the rainbow numbers are going to essentially negate that, and you get Brave shaving with it. Once again, not guaranteed rainbow, but you're going to hit it enough that you're going to be able to do what you need to do. So because Setzer's helping you on not just the HP damage front, but also the shaving front is good. And, oh, by the way, he's got a freeze, which that's going to help them if they get really high Brave numbers as well. Because what you want to think about is in the types of fights where you need this max HP damage, odds are it's a type of fight where you're going to struggle to gain Brave because you can't shave properly. Setzer now with the freeze is going to allow you to just like negate that, because as long as you can get them broken at some point, you get that freeze down, they're never going to be able to Brave gain up. And then even if you're hitting ones, you're going to keep breaking the enemies. You're going to keep getting your HP damage. So I really like Setzer at like number 11 here. All right, so here we go. Officially, finally starting the top 10. And keep in mind, this is late November. So we're Thanksgiving, right? 2023. That's kind of what I'm going with. And I figured this was a good time to do it because we're kind of just ending a cycle. We just got Arciela, and now we kind of don't know what's coming until the next community stream slides. Once again, not an actual community stream, but they're shoving slides into the game, right? So at this point, I know of characters that are coming. There's characters that will very for surely crack their way into the top 10. But we're talking about what is released right now in global. So at number 10, we are going to put Astos in there. I was able to squeeze Astos in. And I said this on a previous video, but you guys are going to be surprised. But, you know, I don't think Astos is top 5. And he barely made my top 10. And what I've been talking about is I've really been feeling it lately as I use other characters, that even though I'm using characters that can't deal as much damage as Astos, they're doing so many other things that I would rather do a little bit less damage and just have all the other perks of the characters than Astos, where he's more of a character where I've got to heavily support him and just focus on him. And he can do insane, nasty, and crazy damage, right? And that's why I put him here. But for being pretty much just a damage dealer, for him to make my top 10, he has to be as crazy as he is. And I figured I figured the community just wouldn't let me have it without Astos in the top 10. And he does deserve to be top 10, I would say. And I could see arguments for ranking him higher. I could see arguments for ranking him lower. There's honestly a part of me that just didn't want him there because in my mind, I just want characters that can do more than damage up here. But I agree, Astos is crazy. He should be a top 10 character, right? And part of it, though, is I know that he's finally going to start getting power crept and damage. But as of right now, yeah, being the best DPS in the game, I think you have to be somewhere on the top 10. At number 9, we've got Kadj. Kadj is an extremely nice character. The gold debuff's very powerful. I think why I rank Kadj like at 9, and maybe not just an honorable mention, but the reason he made my top 10 is while he does deal very good impressive damage, he brings off turn with it. That's one of the strongest off turn attacks in the game that your allies then can piggyback off of and get a lot of good damage on. So I think, you know, Kadj is a character I would say that's just a bit more than damage, because he's, I mean, realistically it is mostly damage, but it's more than on turn damage. He has off turn, which he's a character that can help other characters look better in terms of damage by bringing all of that off turn. So I think Kadj is pretty notable for that. And having a few other, you know, things in his kit like instant break and some nice things that can come into play, right? But I would say, like, if I wanted to squeeze Setzer up here, I think it would be Astos or Kadj that I would like trade out for Setzer. Like, they're kind of all in a similar range. All right, so that was number 9. Let's go to number 8. I've got Fujin. I do think Fujin is a top 10 character in the game. Fujin is just doing so much, and she is what I would refer to as a character that makes the other party members look good. And just something in general we've seen throughout the history of the game is launching is one of the most powerful mechanics. And I would say through every portion of the game's history since like launch characters have been a thing, I want to say Keis is the first ever, like Keis's original LD was maybe the first original character that really featured like launching as like their thing, right? And ever since then, throughout the history of the game, there's always been, launching has always been a part of the meta, and it's always been an important part of the meta, whether it's been Keis or Reigns or now Fujin, right? And we see this cycle through with other characters. It's just so good because you get so much extra damage through it. And Fujin's wall damage mechanic is what makes her so insane. And on top of that, she's got other utilities with traps. She's got some debuffs with some speed downs and some other nice things you can do there. And she's got delay. So she's just got other things, right? You got trap damage. You got the wind enchant and peril, which can come in handy in certain fights. I think Fujin is just, she counts as one of these really nice characters that makes other characters look their best, enables launching. Oh, and by the way, Selfie, we got to talk about Selfie here, right? Selfie's been a big part of the launch meta for a long time. We've seen how important just having characters that give launching to the party consistently, just how strong that is in this game. So I feel like Fujin definitely needs to be up there, right? All right, so that was number 8, right? 8, 9, 10, yep. 8, okay, 7. We've got Vice. And Vice ranks very high for me because 1, he's off turn damage, but 2, he's enabling HP damage up for the party. And by the way, we've got debuff evasion. So this is why to me Vice is, I would say he's the second, probably like the second best off turn damage dealer in the game. Not in terms of damage, because I think Kadaj's off turn might be slightly better, but in terms of enabling damage for the party and just what he's doing as a character. So as a character that I classify as an off-turn damage dealer, I think he's probably like the second highest one I would rank in the game that has that role. Very, very powerful character. So yeah, Vice I think deserves to be up there. Let's go to number 6. And number 6 is Cisne. Now, you might be a little surprised here because you might say, well, Cisne's mainly just off-turn damage, and Vice is doing so much more, right? Because Vice has the HP damage, the debuff evasion. So if you want to argue Vice higher, I don't think I would, like, you know, argue against you on that. But I've been using Cisne a lot recently, right? Because she just dropped. And I'm just telling you guys, her power is so strong. Like, I'm going to say she has the Astos effect for off-turn, where her off turn is so overwhelmingly strong that I don't care that she doesn't do other stuff. It is so powerful, it's ridiculous. And what Cisne is enabling, because her attacks are so powerful, we talked about it earlier, you can run characters like Lightning, Tidus, Terra, maybe characters that don't deal nearly what you need to out of a damage dealer. They're now viable again just because of their spamming and allowing this to go off more often. This little thing at max FR dealing, I don't know, 20 mil damage a turn, like just insane amount. She's dealing like double 8.5 to 9 mil shots every time. And you're just spamming that with other characters. So because she allows you to bring out really good damage out of older characters, she can help you get by on a budget. If you full invest her, you could maybe have, you know, a really old FR character, and possibly even an LD only character that's like a turn hogger that can just let you abuse this. Once again, I know it sounds crazy with Vice having so much more utility, but dude, her damage is just there. It is crazy. So yeah, that's number what, 6? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, 6. All right, here's number 5. We've got Kelgar. My boy Kelgar, which is, to me, is like top tier in the tank world, right? In my top 5, I think I had him at either number 1 or 2. I don't remember. But he definitely needs to be up here very high in my top 10. Absolutely insane when you have a character that can basically solo fights, which many tanks can, but Kelgar does it really well, because other tanks, you know, like Oran and Rubicante, they really depend on needing to heal themselves back because they're going to eat some HP damage, right? Whereas Kelgar, when his effect is just, I always dodge, like, you don't have to worry about him taking damage. You don't have to worry about him healing back. They designed him so well, by the way, because with tanks, you want the enemies to take a ton of turns, right? And you don't want to break them back and steal. Well, they designed him so well where he has not only counters, but he's got a double preemptive. So this man's got 3 off-turn attacks. And his preemptive is quite powerful. But what's so brilliant about his design is that his preemptives do gravity and do not break. And that is by design. That is intentional. One of the frustrating things you'll get with preemptive strike characters like Core, or like Vice or whatever, is they will break enemies out. If you're doing a defense comp, it's frustrating. Enemies about to take a turn, they jump in and they break and they push them back, and then all of a sudden the enemies lose a turn and you're on your turn. In normal situations, that's awesome, because then you want to stay in front of the enemy. But when you're doing a defensive type of setup, that's actually really annoying, and Kelgar prevents that. Now, Kelgar will still break on his actual counter, but that's okay, because it's giving the enemies a chance to actually get their turn, which they're going to attack you. They're going to bump up your FR, because when you're doing these defensive comps, when the enemies are attacking you, they're charging your FR for you. And then he can go ahead and counter. And then if that pushes the enemy back, whatever, they at least got their turn in. But you don't want to have this preemptive situation where you're taking away the enemy's turn when that's what you want them to have. So Kelgar is just so brilliantly designed. And he's a woofy boy, so he's got to be up there, right? All right, number 4, just above him is Kadj. And I put Kadj and Kelgar, like, they're up on a pedestal for me as probably my favorite tanks in the game. Now, the reason why I rank Kadj higher is because she makes the party feel safer than Kelgar does, if that makes sense. Like, Kelgar's going to be locking, but AoE stuff, you're still susceptible. Like, party can still take damage. Kadj is also locking, but she has the insane busted party-wide evasion. And unless the enemy's doing non-dodgeable attacks, I don't know how you die. Oh, on top of that, by the way, let's say something non-dodgeable comes your way, Kadj's freezing them out. And then I would say Kadj's damage isn't as top tier as like Kelgar's is, right? And I would say, I don't know, would Oran deal more? Probably not, because, you know, Kadj's got double counters, but Kadj's off turn isn't like the craziest in terms of damage, but what she's doing defensively with the freeze, the party-wide evasion, and then she does still get double counters. She does force charge, and I don't want to take away from Rubicante. I'm officially mentioning it. Rubicante force charges. Rubicante's very good. I'm known for kind of shafting Rubicante because I forget to mention things about him. I don't hate on Rubicante. He's great. He force charges. Yes, he does what he needs to do. But Kadj and Rubicante both force charge, but having force charging is just such a huge boon for a character. And this is why I talked about at the beginning. I'm going to rate characters higher that serve more roles. And force charging is a role you need to have. Tanking is a role you don't have to have, but is great in a lot of fights. So Kadj is serving the tank role and the force charge role, which Kelgar cannot serve the force charge role, which is why I rank her slightly higher than Kelgar. And then the party-wide evasion. Are you kidding me with that? Kadj's amazing. So yeah, I'm saying right now, Kadj, number 4 best unit in the game. Maybe kind of crazy to you, but in my eyes, that's what I'm seeing. Now, number 3, we have Arciela. And I'm glad I got to play with Arciela a bit more before doing this list, because I think had I made this list looking at Arciela on paper, I don't know that I would have ranked her as high. But after using her, yes, Arciela is actually very tippity top tier, which is crazy to say without having force charging, right? The big thing that I kind of underlooked with Arciela is she's got the Aith FR effect, which as far as I'm aware, her and Aith, I think, are the only two currently in the game. I think Penelo will get it when she gets her Echo. Because there are... So when I say the Aith FR effect, what I'm talking about is an FR attack that is instant turn non-damaging. Because the way these FRs work is your base FR gauge starts at 180 instead of 120. And they're also instant turn. And a normal FR, when you attack, you get 20% base plus whatever you get for meeting the condition. These get 80% base plus whatever you get for the condition. So even though Arciela in her main kit doesn't force charge, her FR is like the mega instant turn force thing. So she can also do... So now she would be the second character in the game that can echo for 160, which is insane. Okay, you guys have seen me use it where I'm on turn 8 or 9 and I'm at max gauge already because of characters like Arciela and Aith. Arciela also having an excellent FR condition where any character is going to hit 80% for free on that. And what's great about Arciela is if a character does an attacking echo, you're going to get 100. If they do in Arciela or in Aith echo, you're going to get 160. Ridiculous, right? Oh, by the way, I've got HP silence. I've got healing. I've got battery, right? Oh, I've got this brave shutdown mechanic that says you can't gain brave. Like, Arciela is actually crazy. And because of, like, I'm going to tell you this right now. If Arciela also had force charging, she might be number 1. Like, she's crazy. Arciela is not to be underestimated. And she's on banners right now. So if you didn't get her... I mean, definitely watch some of my more recent videos with her, but she is actually that good. She's insane. So with that, let's go to number 2. Now, those of you that have watched my channel, you're already going to know who number 1 and 2 are, right? You might not know the order, but we're going to find out. But at number 2, I'm going with Aith. Now, this is insane to me that this tells you how good of a kit Aith has. Because she is not new. She's been around the block. She's been around for months. And her kit is so insane, so timeless, that she's still that good of a character. You guys have seen, like, when I'm team building for showcases, whatever, it's like, all right, Aith is first character in slot, then my main character, and then whatever else I want to throw in with it. So what does Aith do that makes her so insane? So she's got force charging, she's got healing, she's got the Aith FR effect, which I just talked about. Instant turn, 160 echoes, craziness. On top of that, one of the best BT effects in the game in that she's got her BT with like the normal auras, but no turn duration. That is unheard of. A BT with no turn duration. It is infinite, lasts forever, provided you don't go below 50% health. Because she gets a special overhead that charges up when you heal, and then she's dealing off-turn damage. Okay, she has off-turn for everything she's doing. And then she has re-raise. So if you happen to accidentally die, okay, I guess I lose the BT effect, but at least I can continue the fight. And hey, if I haven't used my full burst phase, I can maybe just put it up again with her if I want to. She's crazy. She's absolutely insane, like everything that she does. And once again, talk about serving multiple roles. She might not have like the actual on-turn damage that these supports have, but she's got off-turn. So you could go with other characters and you're actually getting some nice off-turn numbers. By the way, Seal Evil is one of the most powerful effects in the game. Not allowing enemies to buff and allowing you to avoid debuffing. Like, that's really crazy as well. Yeah, you guys already know Aith is insane. So who's my number 1? Well, you guys already know. I literally been talking about this man nonstop. I think it is Ignis. Like, and here's the thing. I know I've been kind of like saying it like as talking, but I wanted, like, before I did this video, I didn't just like throw characters down and be like, yep, I like this one, like this one, like this one. Like, I sat and thought about this for like 20 minutes. Like, I went through every character meticulously. I did some reshifting around. And I still, when I do the math in my head, I do my rankings, whatever, like, this man is still number 1 for me. And I think the term that he literally does everything is about it, right? So we'll start with, let's just break this guy down. So we'll start with force charging, right? Force charging, one of the most important mechanics in the game, almost like a must to have it on a team. You don't actually have to, but when I'm team building, force charging is one of the main things I'm looking for. this guy might be the best force charger in the game out of like Echo characters. So, you know, okay, we'll throw out characters like Hope and Pinello that they just literally have a million skill uses on their 15 and 35. So they feel like they can charge forever. But Ignis also, like, I think he's one of the best force chargers in terms of longevity and how much you can get out of it, because both his 15 and 35 also force charge. Now, his 15 does lack some skill uses. It's fairly low. I think it's only 5 or 6. But when you do that quick recipe, you're getting a free force charge every time you're getting 2. You can think of it as a 2 for 1, because every time you hit recipe, you reset your 15 and 35. That now becomes another free instant force charge. So you're getting 2, and I think, don't quote me on this, but I think, what is it? He's got 5 or 6 on the first one, then quick recipe, I want to say is 8. So if you take that 8 and essentially double it, you're getting 16 skill uses out of that are force charging, plus the 5 or 6 or whatever on the 15. So that is something I actually underestimated on Ignis when I first was looking at him on paper, not really thinking about that interaction of, wow, I'm getting so many force charge buttons out of this guy. So you're getting a lot of use there, right? Then one thing I've kind of spelled it off a couple of times is debuff evasion is very cool. It's a very good thing to have. Well, he's got that built into his kit. And what they did with Ignis is they built him as a stance-based character where you can put him in that debuff evasion role and be more supportive, or you can put him into his attack role and really, really dish out the damage. So he's got the DPS role filled now because his BT gives him an insane follow-up attack, Total Clarity, that does a lot of damage. He's got Fire, Enchant, and Imperil, which can definitely help the party. The one negative thing about him, I suppose you could say, is that he could get Elemental locked out, but they did build his kit well enough where, like, if I don't hit that LD, I don't really have to go into fire, and you can actually get away with him in a fire absorb fight. You actually can avoid it, which is actually pretty nice with him, right? So yeah, Ignis has the force charging, he's got the healing, and when I say he's got damage, it's not just he's got damage, he's got legitimate top tier damage in the game. And the thing that Ignis really brings with this, okay, let's just go to it now. Force condition, right? Very free and easy 80% force condition that if basically as long as Ignis exists in the party, like, you've got it. So he fulfills all the conditions for your party very easily. So once again, this is another character where the echoes are going to be very free and easy. So he's a character that you throw on a team. He's going to lead with his echo, and you know that with his force as the lead, you can team build anything around him and you're going to hit it, which that is so nice, which is what I also like about Rosa and some of these other characters that we've brought up, right? Arciela being another one. You can just build around and just let them be there and let their force go, and you know you can team build whatever you want. So that leans into the flexibility of this character where, you know, traditional team comp would state that I want a healer force charger, I want a DPS, and then my third slot would be like off turn or tank, right? Well, Ignis, because he serves the DPS role so well on top of his support role, that means I'm free to run double off turn. And you guys saw this with Cisne and Vice. We absolutely destroyed and put some insane damage down with that team comp. It allows you to do team comps like that more effectively. Now, you could, instead of Ignis, just do like Astos, right? Like, you could do Astos and double off turn, but you're missing some very key elements that you need out of your support, where we lose out on healing, we lose out on force charging. So while the team can still work, it's not going to run as smooth or as effectively, whereas Ignis sure might not do as much damage as Astos, but you're doing a crap ton of damage still, and you're doing it more efficiently and more quickly. So, my boy Ignis, I think I'm very confident calling him number 1. And I'm actually pretty confident, like, as we get closer to the top, like, I would say, like, this top 3, I'm actually very confident in those 3. They're very meta defining. Oh, by the way, Arciela, 16% true HP damage to the party. Like, that cannot be underestimated as well. Just insane, you guys. So you guys let me know what you think of my top 10. Let's do a quick review. Number 1 is Iggy. Number 2 is Aith. Number 3 is Arciela. Number 4 is Kadj. Number 5, Kelger, the Wolfie Boy. Cisne at 6. I've got Vice at 7 right behind. I've got Fujin there. and then Kadj at 9, and then Astos at 10, just because the damage is so unga bunga. But then some other honorable mentions. So let me know if you agree or disagree with any characters on my list. You can let me know what your top 10. If you want to go in and just list your top 10, I'd be curious to see what other people are thinking. Just keep in mind, we're going to keep it the characters that are currently released. So if you go on there and say, well, I think Rufus should be up there, and I think Angeal, well, sure. They're not out yet, though. This is a global tier list. So let me know what you guys all think. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.